Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Sex Advent Calendar, 25 days of sex education all through the month of December. This week, we are talking about sex and disability, so I have Rebecca Blanton here with me to talk specifically about bipolar disorder. Rebecca is a writer and performer who has a PhD in political psychology and is living with bipolar disorder. So I'm so excited to have them with me today.
Hi, thanks for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I think it's a great topic. I think it's an important topic for people to talk about. So where would you like to start?
So I would love for you to just sort of give us an introduction about how bipolar affects your sexuality or how it could affect other people's. Obviously, everyone is a little different on that.
Great. So I found out I had bipolar 23 years ago, and I've been living with it for 23 years. And at different points, it affects sexuality differently. Before I was diagnosed, when I'd be in manic stages, I'd be hypersexual. And this presented problems in relationships because I'd want to have sex all the time, and I would go out and I would find partners, even if I was with somebody, to meet those needs as part of the disease. As it got under control, that's less of a problem. And in depressed phases, I have no interest in sex and I'm disconnected. So that has changed a lot, and medications change how I respond to things. I've been on medications that have killed my sex drive. I've been on medications that have made certain sensations overwhelming to take.
Wow.
And so it's been a continual journey to figure out what's working for me now. In the last 3 years, I finally figured out how to manage this where I can be stable for a long period of time. That has helped kind of stabilize and, level out the sex drive, and I still have, normal responses now, but that they're not over the top. But it's taken a long time to get there.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about medication and sort of like what that journey looks like?
For me, when I was diagnosed, we had the options of Depakote and lithium. Those were the two drugs on the market. And for me, they were brutal. Lithium caused me to vomit every morning. I put on a tremendous amount of weight. And that alone made me not want to be sexual. And it also created what's called a lithium haze. So I get real cloudy and have cognitive issues, which again makes it hard to engage with a partner. Over time, I've taken different medications. Some have caused tremendous weight gain. I was on one that caused a 60-pound weight gain in 3 months. So trying to deal with the body image issues that come when you have these weight flexes and dealing with the bigotry that comes from that. And my psychiatrist just kept saying, well, it's a small side effect. You have to live with it. And it makes it hard for my partners because I feel horrible about my body. My moods are up and down, and like going, okay, let's get romantic and have sex was awful.
That is a big hill to climb. Yeah.
It is. Now that after 20 years, I found that traditional Western medicines didn't work for me, and I am incredibly lucky to respond very well to alternative therapies.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, and I think everybody should initially contact a psychiatrist and work with them to see if there's something that works for them. For me, I do a tremendous number of herbal supplements, yoga, Reiki, acupuncture, meditation, and diet. And it's a lot more work to manage it, but I finally feel good, which is huge.
That's what matters.
Yeah, so that changes it. The other thing is, it's hard not to personalize my disease because when I'm depressed, I'm withdrawn, I'm sad, and a partner wants to fix that, right? When I'm manic, I can get very agitated very quickly, which again makes it a hard relationship. Then you throw sex into the mix and it gets all confusing and weird. And so it's been a lot of trying to communicate with partners. I'm sorry, this isn't about you. You're not the problem. Like, my chemistry is off, I'm off, but it's not about you. And that makes it hard to connect sometimes and have the connection you need for a good sex life.
Absolutely. Are there any recommendations you have for how partners can best be supportive of folks who have bipolar?
Yep. If you have a partner who is bipolar, it's important to understand everybody has it differently. One of the best things I did was I found a peer support group where it's other people living with mood disorders, and there's no doctors, there's no medication talk or anything in the room, but we sit around and hearing people talk about their experience and know where you're coming from is a great way to get support. And what I also discovered is my bipolar looks very different than somebody else's. So if you have a partner who's bipolar, even if you've had a family member or another partner, it's important to talk to that person about how do you experience it? What does it look like for you? Because it can be very different for each person. So that is important. And try to keep in mind that what that person's experiencing isn't necessarily connected to what you as a partner are doing, which is very hard because if your partner is really angry or really withdrawn, as somebody you care about, you want to connect, you want to love, you want to help, and it can be amazingly frustrating. Then the third is to remember that bipolar is like sex and it's a journey. Like what worked for me at 20 didn't work for me at 30 is different at 40, right? And so that's going to change. So you have to keep talking about it, which can seem exhausting. But if you don't, then you'll be functioning on an old model, and if medications have changed, your body changes, your hormone changes, all of that's going to be different down the road. So to grow together, you have to keep talking about it. There's some things that generally are going to work. For me, it's now complicated because I have a physical condition that causes chronic pain. And so I've gone from being this hardcore kinkster who enjoys really rough sex to there are periods where it's like everything hurts. And it's like this universal joke that I was a hardcore masochist and now I have chronic pain and I don't like it.
I mean, that's such an important like intersection too that we think of that so many times, like we're living with comorbid situations, like pain that goes with a mental illness or that goes with an addiction problem or goes with something else. You know, we're multi-layered beings.
Well, and people tend to think about health like the medical system does, these very little boxes, and we'll do with the brain here and the lungs here and stuff. But people who have chronic pain tend to develop depression. People who have gut problems tend to develop, like there are very close links to that. There's a very high overlap between mental health issues and physical health issues, and it's something you've got to talk to your partners about. And it's a lot of communication about stuff you may not necessarily be comfortable talking about. And I know even today, I have this wonderful partner. He's phenomenal. He's supportive, but the mental health stuff is still hard to talk about because like it bothers him that I've tried to commit suicide. And now when I get depressed, he automatically worries that that's going to happen again. But if we don't talk about it, it's just worry then. But it is hard to talk about stuff like that with a partner.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, though, because I think suicidality is one of those things that really hangs in relationships. And when you have a partner who doesn't experience that, it's a very difficult gap to bridge in terms of how we talk about it and understand our experiences.
I know in my situation, having tried in the past, that's something that people worry about with me. It's like, okay, so it's happened in the past. Bipolar is cyclical, so it means you're going to get depressed at some time in the future. And so any little bit depression, everybody kind of automatically makes that leap. And I may have not made that leap, but I know and I know it's because they worry about me. I know it's because they love me, right? But it's also hard when you're in that space to have to manage other people's expectations and emotions and responses to you. So as a partner, it's like, okay, it's okay to say, I'm worried about this. And then hear your partner when they say, I'm not there yet. Like, I may need to do a medication adjustment. I may need to take a few days off work, whatever it is to do that, to help rebalance. But you have to be able to talk about it without catastrophizing everything.
Oh, thank you so much, Rebecca. That was such a meaningful conversation, and I'm really glad that we could have it during the Sex Advent calendar. So thank you for being here. So for everyone watching at home, we've got more videos coming all through December. Please stay tuned for them. And as always, if you want to help out me pay for my rent and groceries when I go to nursing school in the fall, please visit store.intimatehealthconsulting.com and make a donation so that we can continue to bring great sex ed content to you for free and I can, afford to eat.